Good morning, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here. You're probably wondering why we're starting with a picture of a desert island. So we're going to start with an exercise. I'd like each of you to imagine you're stuck on a desert island, and you can only take one world dish with you, your favorite thing to eat. Now, it's a fantasy island, and all the ingredients are there. What would you take with you? You've got to eat it for the rest of your life. Mine would be dal, because I get the shakes if I don't eat Indian food for 3 days. So I'm going to give you a few seconds. Have a little think. What is your fantasy dish on this island? Okay, so who wants to volunteer and tell me what their fantasy dish is? Anyone? Yes, sir. Fish with pasta. Fantastic. Anyone else? Pizza. Yes. Okay, chicken, rice, and vegetables. So there's 200 of you, 250 of you in the audience. I bet every single one of you has picked something different. And therein lies the dilemma of a chef, a cook, a food business. I call it the eternal dilemma. Everybody wants something different. What do we cook for dinner? What pizza topping do we want? What do we order for lunch when we're picking a platter of sandwiches in a meeting? And how do we solve these challenges? As a disruptor chef, I see our world is changing, and technology is giving us new and interesting and sometimes difficult ways to deal with these challenges that I see in the kitchen. So, a little bit about me. My name is Malik. I describe myself as a connector between the world of food and cooking and technology. I run a strategy and innovation consultancy business, and I work with clients to future gaze and to look at solutions and ideas into what's coming. My current role is with a very large contract catering company called Gather & Gather, and we are a subsidiary of Mighty PLC. And I'm looking at 21st century workplace dining. So rolling out across our 300 kitchens and 1,000 culinary experts, new global eating, technology, health and well-being. I work on the London Food Board with Sadiq Khan, and we're looking at how London as a city engages with food. Every mayor has different strategy and advisory panels. So if you imagine from birth to death, all the different touch points a Londoner has with food, and how do we create strategy around that? Breastfeeding, school food. We're looking at, for example, no more fried chicken shops within 300 meters of a high school. Well, my point to the board is, guys, nobody's walking to the chicken shops anymore. Deliveroo is bringing it to us. So why would we want to have a no more walking policy? One of my greatest interests at the moment is actually interplanetary colonization. So I'm working with a Mars nation where we're looking at what are we going to be feeding people when they get to the planet Mars. So really for me, this is the new age of food. I've had, like many of you, a 20-year career in the food industry. And my roots in food go back very deep. My father is a restaurateur who arrived in Scotland in the 1960s and set up curry houses. Didn't want my brother or I to be anything to do with the food world. So when you come from an Indian family, there's only 3 jobs you can ever have: a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. So I trained with a small company called KPMG. I then trained as a professional chef at Leith School of Food and Wine, where I now lecture, and started my own business in 2008-09 in education, teaching, built a company around cookery schools, around global eating, brought some VC on board, and exited in 2015. After that, started to think about where are the opportunities in food and technology. I love the internet. I built my first company on the back of Google. And for me now, the Disruptor Chef is about understanding these opportunities that exist in the new age, in things that people on the panel were talking about now. I agree with that we are in this time of great change and great opportunity. So I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you on that today, and where are the opportunities from a chef perspective and from a food professional's perspective. So we're in the age of hyper-personalization. This, I think, is the #1 biggest change that we're seeing. And what does that mean from a food perspective? Well, I think we have to step back and we have to look at generational change and a mindset shift. We're looking at people and interacting with food in a different way. First thing is what I call the changing meal journey. No longer do we have breakfast from 7 till 9, lunch from 12 till 2, and then we'll have an afternoon tea, and then we'll have dinner 7 o'clock. That doesn't happen anymore. People are eating when they want, how they want, where they want. We don't have that formal meal structure anymore. And the biggest impact is coming from delivery. We're looking at 400% per annum growth rates in online ordering and delivery. Basically, you can eat whatever you want, where you want. My son, when he's playing, is it Overwatch? He's like, Mum, it'd be great if I could press a button and my bag of popcorn would appear. Or if I could get my pizza brought right to my gaming console. And I'm looking at how children, Generation Z, is interacting with food and making food choices. The next biggest change is diversity. Gender diversity, ethnic diversity. We as food people need to take this seriously. Again, it was touched on with the panel. Why are we worried about creating food solutions which really only speak to Western Europe and America? Are we looking at food solutions that speak to the 1.7 billion Indians or the 1.7 billion Chinese? Why are we making induction oven hobs which don't actually are not able to make chapati bread on? So looking at diversity, looking at ethnicity are very, very important within our food world. Gender, well, don't get me started about gender. How many Michelin star women chefs can you name? Thank you. 1. I feel we have to start to look at bringing opportunities for women, particularly from Black minority ethnic backgrounds. We tend to recruit people who are like us. So there's this unconscious bias, which is very prevalent in chefing world. But again, the millennial and Generation Z are very much gender neutral. We don't have the same level of prejudice within the new world. And the last thing I think that is massive influence is Generation Z is concerned about the planet. They are looking at what legacy they're going to leave. Social impact really matters. I believe the food businesses that are going to be the unicorns of the future will have a very strong environmental message. And again, this needs to be built into strategy. The triple bottom line measure is not just economic measure, but also social and financial. Social, economic, and environmental. Triple bottom line is the way that businesses need to be built going forward. Food waste, a huge conversation within the London Food Board. Food security. London runs out of food in 3 days. It's anarchy after that. And I think when we saw the Beast from the East hit last month or a couple of months ago, it was a very good example of we are relying on supermarkets to feed us. So again, looking at sustainability and looking at the environment, we need to start to be able to look after ourselves. It's hyper important. So what does that mean from a kitchen perspective? We're living in a connected world. We are talking a lot today in the summit around the connected kitchen, and that's brilliant. But we also have to look at what's the impact from the Internet of Things. We're going to be creating millions and millions of bits and bytes of data. How can we start to analyze that to make sense from a chef's perspective? There are some obvious wins. We're going to be looking at fridges, which will be able to tell us if they're getting old. We're looking at faster response times for repair and renewal. At Mighty PLC, we're starting to create what's called the connected workspace. You walk into a building, it knows how many people are in it. We start to, less energy is used, temperature is controlled, and we will start to be able to also tailor food to the individual's body. And I'm going to come back to that one. So the connected world will have an impact because we'll be able to understand in a joined up way how people are using spaces and how they're actually eating as well. I just wanted to quickly talk about vending. So in terms of vend, I think we don't have to look at technology as cutting edge. Japan and Korea are light years ahead in vending. We're looking at retailers who are now building cafes and food offers on the high street. This is a Japanese vend machine, which you can build your own stir fry. This is vending, where we are looking at grow your own herbs. Again, vend is going to be playing a bigger part, I think, in the food offer. Solves the waste problem, solves the people problem. Of course, robotics. One of my clients is a Chinese billionaire. He's a pig farmer. And he's developing in Reading a fully robotic canteen kitchen that will feed 1,000 Chinese workers in an hour. Imagine that. 20 Cantonese dishes will be created from in the raw ingredients, the back door, right to service. And I think we need to wake up because these guys are going to come back and sell these solutions to Sodexo and Compass. Connected people. This is interesting. We're starting to look at microchips being embedded into people's bodies. Meet Katie Collins. She is one of 10,000 people who has a microchip embedded into her arm. And I worked with Just Eat on their accelerator, and we were looking at a very interesting startup that's developed a microchip that you swallow, embeds itself in your gut. Don't worry, it dissolves after 3 months. But you link it to an app that gives you data around your biohealth. And then you walk into a smart building, you scan your phone, and that information goes to a central kitchen, which will then tailor lunch and breakfast to your body. Again, as a chef, that is exciting to me, the opportunity there. But ultimately, for me, this age of hyper-personalization is about shared values. And we need to build businesses which are going to have community and, at the heart of it. Because those are the ones that are going to go on. We will be ending up being curated by food businesses. They will have so much power in choice because we'll be choosing things from phones that really have got to look at values, in my opinion. I call it creating food communities, business models which will allow us to speak to our customers. This is Deliveroo's editions, what's called dark kitchens. And when we're starting to look at opportunity from cooking, this is one of the future models, I think, coming back to the CPU, where there's central kitchen. So imagine you, as a biohacker, have your body data, you scan it, or it goes from your phone to a central kitchen like this, and then Deliveroo or whoever is subcontracted can look at that data and from their menu can design something which is relevant to you and your well-being. Dark kitchen, I think, is a bit of a bad name. To me, this could be a community kitchen. This could be a vehicle for us to be able to start to speak to the individual, to be hyper-personal. I also think this is an opportunity for us to upskill community cooking. I work with Ealing Council. There's 2,000 people, primarily Black and ethnic minority women, who want to cook, and we have a chef shortage in our industry. We can upskill them to create culturally relevant food from my heritage. So Mrs. Singh cooking me the best dal I ever had. And we put them into community kitchens, and they solve problems such as Meals on Wheels. Can we deliver great, authentic heritage food to our old people? And these are the kind of conversations that I'm interested in having. This, by the way, very quickly, because I'm running out of time, is this is an underground farm in London, which is hydroponic, a model for sustainability. And very quickly, the sustainable supply chain. I know Barilla's here. I also do an MBA at Imperial College, and Barilla was one of our case studies about how we can start to become responsible in food sourcing. So not just going down one level, but down to the basic farmer level. How is our food grown? How can we help the people that are on the ground at a very primary level? And again, customers are going to be asking those questions. For me, the biggest game changer that's coming is blockchain. And what is blockchain? Essentially, it's a platform that allows transparency, it's safe, it's secure, and in our food world, particularly within the sustainable supply chain, we are starting to see blockchain technology applied. But I also think it's about sharing. So why are we buying hundreds of thousands of pounds of kitchen kit when actually is there the opportunity to share it on a blockchain platform? And coming back to shared values, Generation Z isn't really going to own much. We're going to be moving into a sharing economy. So I finish with a thought. This is my daughter, Anya. And these children and their children are going to be asking us questions like, so, did you guys really throw away 30% of your food? And what do you mean you don't have a chip in your body that's going to tell you what you should be eating or what you must be eating to make you well? Thank you very much, everybody. There's my details up there. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you.